Hey everyone, what is going on? Welcome back to another video here on the channel. In this week's video, we're going to be talking about design limitations that radio control car manufacturers may not want you to know. This is a bit different than the one that we did where it was more in general of what radio control car manufacturers may not want you to know. If you have anything to add to this video, leave that in the comment section below. And with that being said, let's start off in no particular order at our first point. First point is there are no real speed limitations that are assigned to a radio controlled car. Every radio controlled car is going to have that specific speed limitation, especially with the factory components, not necessarily the brushless power system components, but the factory components that come with the car. And even radio controlled car manufacturers may not actually be able to test that car to determine what that limitation is. As soon as you hit the limitation, you have to go and dive into the root cause as to why that specific limitation is coming into play, and then find a way that you might be able to tune that limitation out so that you can surpass that once limitation and then achieve a new top speed for that radio control car. This is a lot of work, and this is what a lot of YouTubers do, and these YouTubers put a lot of time to go through all of the testing and to try different ways and different tunes to make the car go fast. This is a skill and a significant skill in itself. Moving into the next point, this is the maximum power of a brushless power system within the radio control car. Now, there are a lot of examples out there, and primarily I'm thinking more of crawler type radio control vehicles where I see them posted online that there's some power system installed, and then when that person ended up accelerating aggressively, they sheared and snapped and broke and twisted and busted up axles in many different ways. These can be drive axles that go from a front or rear differential to the actual wheel, and these crawlers produce a lot of torque. Car manufacturers, radio control car manufacturers, don't specifically place on there maximum amounts of power to pull from your system. If you knew this information, you would be able to tune it in and program it on some radio controlled ESCs so that that torque value is never exceeded or that power value is never exceeded. But because they're not there, we don't have the function of doing this, and we just have to know what works and what doesn't. Now, thankfully, radio control car manufacturers do want their car to be very beefy, and many are quite beefy. So we're lucky in the sense that we can have a radio control car that has an extremely high limitation, and most drivers or users or builders of these radio control cars really won't hit that maximum power limitation. The next item that we have here, number 3, is that the best motor, ESC, and battery combinations to achieve a speed goal for a radio control car is not necessarily known by the manufacturer. If you go through a lot of the manufacturer's manual, their literature, you'll find that you don't really get motor combinations and gearing combinations that can contribute to a specific amount of speed. And what you will get is let's say, a gear ratio chart that goes through that type of information to let you know what is possible from a gearing perspective in that specific radio control car. This is really difficult for radio control car manufacturers because there are a lot of different motor and speed control and battery combinations that you can use. Essentially, the combinations are extremely high, and to be able to provide you with all this information doesn't even get you to the end result. There's a lot more than just providing gearing and a power system to get to that end result. You have to know how to tune the vehicle and how to drive the vehicle with respect to that power system and the car in itself. If you're trying to look at what components you should get for your radio control car, my recommendation would be to not necessarily look at what the manufacturer of that vehicle is putting into that vehicle. I would specifically say go on YouTube or go on a forum and check out what other guys are running and what they are achieving with that vehicle. This will give you a really good sense of information coming from more of a neutral party to allow you to hit that goal that you're looking to achieve. Let's move on to a couple design-based points that we have here to talk about. The first one is going to be that a perfect design on the very first release of a radio control car is extremely difficult to achieve. It may take multiple different versions of a radio control car to bring it to when it was first released to the best product that that can possibly be. This is not just with radio control cars or radio control in general. This is design and engineering in a nutshell. If you want the best product and you're willing to put the time in to continuously improve upon it, this is how you do it. To give you an example, I'm going to pick on the Arma Limitless V1 and V2. At least from the perspective of the marketing as well as the advertising literature, the scope of the project was essentially to come up with a radio control car that can achieve 100 miles per hour relatively simply with a large battery bay, allowing you to install all kinds of different battery options as well as ESC options and motor options. And as far as I'm concerned, the V1 Arma Limitless absolutely hits that mark and is spot on in its design. Now, as this car was launched, people were doing 100 miles per hour and then beating that and going up to 110, 120, 130 miles per hour. And once you started to push this vehicle quite quickly past what it may have been intended to run at, this is where issues started to come into play. And what Arma did is they listened to everybody and they produced a V2, a version 2 of this product. And this product actually allows you to push the vehicle even harder than the V1 allowed because of a few simple design changes. Now, it's good to keep in mind that going from the V1 to the V2, you do get these positives from the vehicle. However, there are some consequences to the design that have taken place. One of them may be a little bit more subtle, and that's with the gearing. Not such a big deal if you know how to get around it, but the battery bay might be even more of a limitation to you if you have longer batteries that you wish to use in your Arma Limitless. If you don't have shorter batteries, then you're probably going to have to go and purchase some new batteries to work with the specific vehicle. If you are looking for a radio control car and you are seeing different versions of the product, make sure you read the specific specifications for your version, the most recent version more than likely, that you are going to purchase before you end up making that purchase. This way you can understand if everything is going to work for you. Now let's move on to the last item on our list, and this is the fifth point that we're going to be talking about here today. And this primarily deals with designs that are not up to par or what we would expect from the manufacturer for a specific radio control car. Now I'm going to continue to pick on the Arma Limitless V1 here, and that's because I believe this is a good example to share with you to kind of show and demonstrate this point. The rear drive shaft on this car does seem to be designed a little bit smaller than expected for the amount of distance that that drive shaft has to cover. There's quite a difference from the front drive shaft to the rear drive shaft when you're considering the amount of tolerance that Arma has truly designed into both of those sections. And because of this, there is some concern out there for the owners of the Arma Limitless. However, there are enough posts online and YouTube videos to show how to actually compensate for what's been done. And the best way to fix something like this is to simply put in a little cut piece of fuel tubing to make sure that you're kind of centering up the drive shaft so it cannot be offset at an extreme distance where it's pushed over to one side. This fixes the issue. Well guys, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, like the video if you do. Don't forget to hit that sub button so that I can see you guys in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next one.